Okay, real quick, as I've sat here,
Uh
how'd you think that one went in comparison to the last one?
oh. Okay. I think we should. My next article will be more serious. So I'm ready to.
I agree. I think we should do that, and by we I mean you.
Number one. Number two, I think we should cut down on the number of people maybe and extend the time maybe per person, because I feel like there are only going to be so many arguments for a given thing. And if we have 8 people, I feel like we have to be retreading ground. Like there's no way 8 people are going to all have different arguments on a particular thing. So it probably makes sense to do like 4 or 5.
Okay, so you would want like same time period though, like we would. So basically, what are you looking for? It wouldn't have like the voting kind of stuff, or you would want that?
We could do the voting. We just make all the time periods like maybe a couple minutes longer or something.
Like 2 or 3 minutes longer in total.
Sure, maybe, yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this part? So obviously, I think the meminess of the article made it kind of difficult for people to understand what it was. I don't even think you understood what you were arguing.
I mean, it was like I thought somebody was gonna come in and just like have meme arguments. And we were just gonna fucking, but no, I'm not being clear on it, so that's fine. But that's okay. But they'll generally be more serious. So
yeah, and I think that it's hard to pick people at random that are gonna have meme or good or bad arguments. So we actually got pretty lucky with everybody today. Kind of had at least a couple of things to say. I'm just reading chat as well to see if they have anything. Okay, well, next time we'll cut it down just a little bit. And then as far as the next time this is going to happen, I know that you're traveling this week. So we're probably going to do this again, and it'll probably be a month now again. Because
probably not a month, but like
time
2 or 3 weeks, yeah.
Okay. A couple of things that I did want to talk to you about just in general, and I wanted to get your raw emotional, as you always are, arguments as to why we shouldn't do this. I think that the Israel simping in the subreddit has gone too far, with a lot of the users actually starting to post like some pretty fucking gross stuff. And I am just going to put out a forewarning to everybody that I'm going to start like being not nice about that kind of stuff. People have told me over and over that I'm nicer than forethought.
Wait, can you link me an example of that? I'm just curious because I've seen stuff too. Both sides of this are fucking cancer AIDS, but I think as we ban more of the crazy Pallies, some of the crazy Israeli people are still here. So,
let me find one that I was dealing with. If you read our chat, you would see.
I do. That's the only reason I know this has happened.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to find.
I wish it was easier to click links on. I've said this before. Listen, if you're an Apple engineer or an Android person, or I guess just Apple, just no. I'm so sorry. No app should ever have a built-in browser. Like, this is what I don't like. I hate this workflow, and I'm so surprised that this hasn't changed on any of these phones yet. When you link something from Reddit in Discord, this is the fucking process. So I open Discord, I see a link, then I click the link, and then it asks me if I want to open it in an external browser. Then I click open the external browser. Now we've already rolled the dice because I don't know if it's going to actually open the link or if it's going to take me to reddit.com. So then it opens the link in the browser. Then we have to roll the dice again because I don't know if it's going to have the link that says, do you want to open this in the Reddit app or just not appear at all? And sometimes it just doesn't appear. I was like, okay. Then we click open the Reddit app if we've survived 2 dice rolls. Then on the 3rd dice roll, now I have to hope that it actually opens the actual post that it was supposed to and not just go to reddit.com. Or sometimes on a super magical journey, I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen before. You used to have me on Twitter. It'll say, oh, do you want to install this app? And it's like, I don't already have Reddit installed on my phone. And I've actually done this with Twitter before, and I was like, fuck it, let's install it. What the fuck do you want me to install? And I had like 3 versions of Twitter on my phone. I hate this workflow. I hate it. I wish that there was a way to, like, if there's a link, it's like right now you click it, and it just opens the right app instead of having to go through the browser, and then go through another window, then open the app, and God, fuck me. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm trying to find. There was one that was like made me feel like I needed to talk to you, but I can't find it. If my mods are listening, oh, hold on, Clark sent me something.
Clark,
dude, Clark, do you remember that one that I sent of that person that like it was like a 7 or 8 deep comment thread, and the person was like basically saying that they don't care if you die because you're a terrorist supporter, and like
Damn.
If you were up against them, they would kill you. Like, do you know which one I'm talking about?
I don't think I read it, but that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
This is just one that somebody posted. I don't really necessarily. A lot of people, like, okay, so I'll just say, like, examples that I've seen is a lot, like, this one is one of them where people are saying, like, ethnic cleansing actually might not be a bad thing to do, in general, because they take your argument of you saying something similar to that, and then they'll put it on Reddit, which is a completely different terms of service, completely different way that you can talk about stuff, and they will completely just throw out your, like, oh, genocide's actually okay if as long as it ends the conflict, and they think that, like, that's just cool. But they'll do this, like, in a 7 or 8 comment deep thread, and they'll just be arguing that ethnically cleansing somebody is a good idea.
Okay.
I can't find the one that, dude, fuck, I wish I should have set it aside. But anyway, basically, Israelis, you are unsafe. No, I'm just I'm totally kidding. But
Jesus.
people that are saying some crazy stuff, like, you guys got to tone it down. It turns into, like, really shitty experiences for people. Generally, it turns into people, like, either threatening each other or calling each other, like, disgusting shit. And as, like, loose as we are with a lot of stuff, and we allow a lot of stuff, it's getting, like, not fun for the people who don't care about Israel Palestine. And there's a reason why we banned Israel Palestine content in the subreddit for, like, a few months, is because it's starting to get that way again. Pro Pally people, though, you're going to get it right back, because the amount of people that are like, we told you that all of this stuff was happening, and now you guys are all seeing that what we were saying was correct. 4 months ago, Trump basically gave Israel the switch to do whatever the fuck it is that they want to do. And so if anybody that can't realize that that has changed the circumstances significantly on how people in the community will interact, anyway, it's getting to be too much, and I don't want to have to ban Israel Palestine. So everybody chill the fuck out. Cool stuff, though, that we are going to be doing in the subreddit coming up soon, like within the next couple of days. Back by popular demand, we are bringing back the Biden blast, but it is going to be in a different form, and it's going to be more fun.
Because I feel like that didn't. I feel like that was just kind of a cluster.
It's going to work. It's going to work really well. So we are retiring Biden blast as far as the name, and we are going to have !GTAB for get that ass banned. And what it's going to be is just the same thing that Biden blast was. It's going to be a 3-day suspension, and we will be looking over all of those to make sure that they're good or they're not good. But we're also going to be adding a lawyer command as well. So people will be able to get somebody unbanned from that as well. So
does the lawyer just call on the mods, or does the lawyer call on, like, a class of users that are?
It's a command. It's a command. So basically, anybody that we give the lawyer charges to, basically, they'll be able to see these bans and undo them.
Huh.
So we're going to test it out. It's going to be fun. People just want something fun to be able to do, and we're going to make it less unhinged with, like, 95 people getting them in blocks, to where it's going to be a little bit better and hopefully not be insane. If not, we'll just remove it. If people use it shitty, we'll just take it out. It's not that big of a deal. But that will be dropping probably, I think, like, on Monday. We've already gotten it through testing. Want to do a shout out to the guy who has been doing all of our bot stuff. Reserve Aggressive 458 has been our bot programmer duder, or whatever you want to call him. He's the one who's done the stream update one that we now have the pinned stream posts, and he also redid the Biden blast. Tanner, there is no penalty for getting your ban reversed. We will be watching people that are just doing it to be shitty, and we'll see what happens. We'll probably just take away your charges if that happens.
Damn.
I think that's all that I had. The new pragmatic papers dropped today. There is no article from Destiny in it, but if you guys could please give these guys a read. We're getting more and more people joining into the news team. Generally, we have like 6 to 7 articles every single week that cover anything from Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine. We have a couple of European contributors now that do some European news. We just have quite a few different things that get covered every year or every week. We have a lawyer that you guys see on stream, Kafka. He puts together executive order summaries, things that that might have been happening as far as court cases happening within the United States. But in general, it's a pretty good read. Anybody that's interested should go and look at it. That's also where these people ask every single time where they can sign up for these debates. When Destiny writes an article, we do a sign up for a debate. I'm going to, on this next one, start to hop in here like every day and remind people about the signups, because Destiny has a lot on his plate, especially when he was playing Factorio. There was nothing else he could do but play Factorio.
But now we're done with Factorio, so we did it. We survived, okay?
But yeah, so we're going to continue to do these debates, and hopefully every single time they get better and better. We're going to try to get them to be a little bit more contentious. We just need to do a topic. So if you guys have ideas for topics as well, feel free to message me on Discord for something. Like, try to not have it be a meme, have it be something that you can write out, maybe a paragraph, and me and Destiny go over those as options for him to write about. So this one was just a kind of a memeier one. But yeah, that's all I got. So stop being unhinged with Israel-Palestine stuff. Otherwise, we'll just make it not a thing on the sub anymore.
Damn.
Destiny doesn't talk about it very often.
Damn.
And so you guys going crazy and doing that is getting to be too much. Also, we do not need to know everything that happens in Hassan's life, guys. I know that we like to clown on him, but let's be serious for a little bit. Just good drama stuff.
Okay.
Like, he got banned, which I don't know how long it was for, but he did get banned.
Yeah, it's probably for 24 hours, so.
Something like that. But all right, guys. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you guys for participating in all of this stuff, all of the polls and everything. Thank you to all of the chat mods that helped span the polls. Thanks, Clark, for putting all the polls together. Thank you, all of the people who participated. And thanks, everybody.
Cool. Love you.
Have a good day, buddy.
Bye. Nerd. Ooh. Okay. Watch 8 seconds for context of your recent debate. New DGG fallacy that you've talked about.
Never would have guessed.
Now will you show me what's inside your secret box?
No, SpongeBob. It's for me to know and for you to never find out. You may be an open book, SpongeBob, but I'm a bit more complicated than that. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Some of what you said, I mean, Elon being fried on ketamine and Republicans are not trying to govern the country. I mean, this is like theorizing about people's state of mind and ad hominem. I don't think that's really necessary. And I'm not really interested in speculating on what Elon's mental state is or Republicans' motivations. But again,
how could you ever... You don't care about the motivations of your lawmakers? What?
we go back to the higher...
You understand that we speculate on the I'm so sorry. I don't want to relive this conversation. But you speculate on the motivations of every single person you engage with at all points in time. It's like one of the most important things when dealing with another human being, right? Like if you woke up and your girlfriend had the oven on, you're guessing that she's probably going to cook something, not that she's warming this up to throw you in there and make you suffer and die, or that when you're driving in a car, you're speculating that most people are trying to get to where they're trying to go and not trying to murder you with their vehicle. Like, sorry.
Level problem, which is that we have a massive deficit. in my mind, we need to get a handle on it. At least directionally, we need to get a handle on it. So does it increase? We've tried the traditional approaches that you've identified. We've tried.
Do I ask him in the very beginning? I'm like, what should the debt be? He did. I hate my life. Did I ask this? I think I did. Hold on.
All of it. So I don't know what you call a national emergency, and I guess that's a bit of a qualitative assessment, but we have a 127% GDP to debt ratio, or debt to GDP ratio. That's the highest it's ever been. And with $37 trillion in debt, $2 trillion deficit, we need to restructure things in America, otherwise we're going to have a bona fide emergency. So first, do we agree that there's something that we need to head off at the pass, whether we agree that's an emergency right now or it'll be an emergency later?
No, I think this is given as a truism with no qualifiers ever. I would ask you very simply, what should the debt to GDP ratio be?
I know it's the highest it's ever been, including wartime, right? So the highest it's ever been, even post-World War II, was 119%. And I think we could agree that there's a point where it is too high. Could I give you a specific number? I couldn't.
And it's not even a general number. Like, what's a country that's doing better than us, and then what's their debt to GDP ratio? I think that this is a truism that's given with zero thought. I don't think Trump's thought about it. I don't think Lutnick has ever given a justification. I don't think anybody's ever thought about it. It's just kind of like a truism. Like, the debt is bad. Like, what should our debt even be? Is 50% good? 70%?
Well, part of it is the issue is it's a confidence meter in a sense, right? So it reaches a point where the debt to GDP ratio is too high for anyone to want to take on American debt. Now,
when we say confidence meter,
just finish one thing.
Sure.
So obviously, I can't discern from here what that point is, right? And for everyone, it's different. But there's a point where we basically go over the cliff, and we're trying to avoid that. So to the question of, are there nations with a higher GDP to debt ratio that are doing fine? I don't know, genuinely. But the question is this something that we need to get a handle on at all? So if we don't even agree on that, then the discussion on strategy is kind of moot. But do you agree that this is something that needs to be resolved or not?
I don't know what we're even resolving it to. So, like, for instance, when you said confidence meter, the USD was about as strong as it's ever been, despite supposedly this debt, being horrible and about to take us over a cliff. It was when Donald Trump started to take corrective measures on it that the USD started losing a lot of power, that the bonds market started to shake, and it made it look like other countries are losing faith in America. So what happened there? I feel like there's a lot of truisms given about the debt or given about macroecon, but like when you look at any of the numbers, you can't find any justification for it ever at all. Like, and nobody can talk about it. It's just kind of like these are just truisms given for like political points, I feel.
Okay, so you don't think that this is proven to be an issue that we do need to prioritize right now?
I think that there is a responsible and healthy discussion to have around what should our debt look like, how much debt should we have, and what policy should we take to alleviate that. None of those conversations are happening right now in this administration because they don't even understand what the debt is or really anything about economics in general, I guess. Like, just for instance, because we have a trade deficit with a country that doesn't mean we're subsidizing them. Trump says it over and over again. It doesn't mean we're losing out to them. Trump says it over and over again. And it doesn't mean that it's weakening our economy, but Trump says it over and over again. So how can you even begin to have a discussion on what the debt should look like if we don't even have a basic understanding of like what a trade deficit is, I guess?
Yeah, so where I agree with you is Trump administration has not been good about messaging some sort of comprehensive idea of what the debt should be, why it's too high, why we need to get a handle on it, and what the limit.
Please don't let him get away with that. I correct him, right? It's not a messaging problem. It's a knowledge problem. Please say I say that. I think I say that.
So that handle should be. So I agree with you there, and I'm not here
to be clear, we don't agree on that. I'm not saying they're not messaging. I think they don't understand it. Thank you. Good. Yes.
I don't know that they don't understand it. I'm curious what makes you confident that they don't understand it.
Because all of their actions demonstrate that they don't understand it. Every single step they've taken has been bad for it. Good. Thank you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where it's like I personally don't feel confident that I have such a strong grasp of macroeconomics.
And then at the end, he has no domain knowledge. Wait, what the fuck? So we have all these claim, knockdown. And it's like, okay, well, actually, I have no domain-specific knowledge on any of these.
I could say that A, every move that they're making is illogical, and B, that they don't even have a strategy. What I can say is that I'm pretty confident that having a $37 trillion debt and $2 trillion deficit is unsustainable.
How can you be pretty confident of that when we don't know what the debt should be? Any country that's doing better than us, that has a better debt to GDP ratio, what even direction we should be aimed at, or the fact that when Trump is taking corrective measures, the faith in the USD got lower, even though it should have gotten higher, according to your logic. Like, every single thing that exists in reality that I can demonstrate is contrary to your belief. But how can you say, and then this comes off the tail of him saying, I have no knowledge or understanding of this at all. How can you have a high level of confidence?
And B, that they don't even. I personally don't feel confident that I have such a strong grasp of macroeconomics.
That's fair. You can also open with that. I don't know, fuck all. That's fine. That's okay, by the way. That's totally valid.
I could say that A, every move that they're making is illogical, and B, that they don't even have a strategy. What I can say is that I'm pretty confident that having a $37 trillion debt and $2 trillion deficit is unsustainable.
How do you even know that? How could you possibly know that?
And at minimum, we need to correct the trend, even if we think that at the absolute, like we can sustain a 127% debt to GDP ratio. So with that being a given, the question is, what should we do about it? And I think a lot of the time when we talk about tariffs, we talk about them in isolation. And
where did you have this debate? I don't know, was this like a week ago? I flew to New York for a day and then I flew back that night.
I agree with you, is the tariff strategy has been opaque if it's there at all, right? We talk about tariffs in terms of wanting to reshore manufacturing, and then it turns about we need to turn it into some sort of methodology for creating reciprocal tariffs, and it's more about fairness, and then it's about blue-collar workers, and it's really unclear. But I know that the overall strategy is to at least cut the deficit to zero by increasing revenue on the revenue side through tariffs and reducing costs through DOGE, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And to me, that's something that Howard Lutnick has said, it's something that Scott Bessenson said. To me, that's at least a compelling directional approach to dealing with this. And I think it's very hard.
How is it compelling, though, if you don't know anything about any of it? Shouldn't that be a red flag? Like, you understand you're describing yourself as the most perfect type of scam victim, right? I'm pretty sure this is a good direction ahead. I'm pretty sure this guy gave me good advice. How do you know? Feels right. Well, do you know anything about the like, you know, claims A or B? No, not really. Do you know anything about like their intentions or motivations? No, not really. I actually don't really know anything about this subject matter at all. Okay, then what? I'm sorry. What was your claim about this again? I'm pretty confident that it's a good idea and I'm moving in the right direction. How? What?
Hard to assess where tariffs fit in the overall picture because we're also talking about things like deregulation. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's not as simple as, hey, we're going to put a tariff on this country and there's not going to be any negotiation past that. So,
Sure.
So there's been mixed messaging. I do like directionally, though, that someone is putting a stake in the ground and saying, hey, we need to resolve a deficit because at least intuitively, this doesn't seem like something that we can sustain indefinitely.
How can you have an intuition on something that you have absolutely no understanding of? How can you do that? Imagine me building like the ideal like fantasy football team or fantasy. Is fantasy football only fantasy? Are there fantasy NBA teams? And I'm like, intuitively, I feel like Magic Johnson is the best. And it's like, why? I don't know. I like D&D and shit. Magic just sounds cool, I guess. Intuitively, it feels right. Right? Like, well, I usually pick the guys with the lowest jersey numbers because I feel like if you're jersey number 1, I mean, you must have been the first one there. And so I always go for the lower jersey because intuitively it just feels right. Like,
Definitely. Tariffs are supposed to at least help with that by bringing back American manufacturing, and then that raises corporate tax revenues, that we can tax more on the corporate side. They've also said some things about cutting income tax below 150K and using tariffs to replace income tax. So for me, I just like that there's a president who's actually addressing this. And I think many of the American people feel the same.
I think they feel the same because they're being lied to constantly. So this American president is the worst in all of human history for the U.S. debt in terms of adding to the U.S. debt. So if you want to deal with the debt, there's two ways to do it. You can either raise more revenue, which he's opposed to doing because he wants to cut or he wants to extend the Trump tax cuts, or, and he's also caused an economic contraction to happen now, despite the fact that he came in with a booming economy. So the economy's gotten smaller, which means less tax receipts. He wants to extend the tax cuts, which have had a massive impact on our deficit. So you can either raise revenues, he's done the opposite of that in both worlds, or you can decrease your outlays, and it doesn't seem like this president is willing to cut any outlays either. So you have the fact that they asked for $150 billion from the Pentagon, the fact that they're asking for trillions of dollars increase to the debt ceiling, and then the fact that, this is one of those internal inconsistent things. We're saying tariffs are going to raise revenue. Well, the only way that the tariffs would raise revenue...
so external, so here are the factors on both ends where empirically it doesn't work, and then there's an internal inconsistency with this logic as well, right?
And the ways that they calculated it is that consumption remains the exact same, which it won't, because obviously people are going to adjust their consumption based on the tariffs.
So even internally it doesn't make sense. True, good points! How are you going to raise revenue with a thing where you're trying to get rid of all of your imports? You're trying to destroy your import market. So how are you going to raise taxes on your import market? Great point. Who is this guy?
Two, why would you want them to make a lot of money on tariffs? Why would you want the U.S. to make money on tariffs if the whole point of the tariffs was so that people stopped ordering international goods and started ordering domestic goods? That doesn't make any sense, right? We want to reduce the consumption of international goods, which would reduce the amount we put on tariffs. So even if it's not even directionally good, all of it is just horrible. It's just all of it is horrible. None of it is actually furthering anything to reduce the debt or the deficit, which is why by the end of this admin, the deficit likely won't go down. The debt absolutely won't go down. And there will be a failure on both those fronts, just like there has been with DOGE. We'll get to that. But I don't think any of the Trump people will even be willing to admit that.
Yeah. So obviously it's difficult for us to prognosticate. I would say if look at the end of Trump's presidency, the debt and the deficit have not gone down, that is a failure. And then we'll just objectively know because they said they were going to do this thing. They said that all these policies are meant to do this thing, and then they didn't do that thing. What I would say is that we need to consider the tariffs again as a toolkit in the overall toolbox. Because one of the things I don't even like about the framing is, hey, let's talk about tariffs. Because that doesn't make much sense to me. It's like, no, let's talk about what the economic strategy is.
The only economic strategy is tariffs. Do I say that? Please tell me I say that. He sold tariffs as the chief major economic strategy.
There, right? So you mentioned, for
Holy shit! I just banged my desk and it unpaused. Is that a feature of this computer?
example, that assumes that consumption remains even. But if tariffs raise prices, then consumption will go down because prices will just be too high, right? Well, then we have to consider other things, right? So if we deregulate, for example, and we make it cheaper for companies to actually make goods in the U.S., might prices actually remain the same and consumption remain the same? That's possible.
That is impossible. That will never be the case. I'll bet any amount of money right now because in the United States we just can't produce. We don't even have the companies necessary. The capex, the type of investment that we're looking to build those factories and train those people, we're at least a decade out in a lot of industries where this ever happening. There's no world where you peel back a couple regulations and all of
X, like this dude's a fucking small business investor. Shut the fuck up, bro. Investment. You're saying investment. Fuck loser.
Suddenly, magically, the United States is competing with
show me your
with Thailand,
angel investment portfolio. My God.
And China and Taiwan when it comes to manufacturing. That's never ever happening.
Okay. Well, I'm not so confident that's never going to happen. And at least we see early signs that people are attempting to make it happen. And that's why we see different companies trying to invest in America. Yeah,
companies have always been investing in America. Most of the investment that Trump credit credit came from the CHIPS Act.
This debate's not going to go very well if you interrupt me and I don't interrupt you.
Sure.
So
Sorry, but when you lie, when you say the wrong thing over and over and over again, it feels kind of stupid.
So we've seen Taiwan Semiconductor do that recently. This past week, we saw Saudi Arabia make investments. Obviously, that's more sovereign, not private companies. But we've seen many companies. We see Honda.
You know that companies are investing in America all the time. You guys know that companies are investing in America all the time. You guys do know that, right? The companies are always investing in America. It's just for some reason Trump has decided to say like I'm going to start talking about every single investment that any company makes. Like that's always happening.
You're going to make the next Honda Civic. over here rather
Why not have this energy in the actual debate? Because I come off as unhinged, and I'm trying to be polite. It's a polite conversation.
than in Mexico. So we've seen companies at least making moves to try to reshore manufacturing. Whether it's going to happen by the time that Trump exits office, that's unknown, right? And then we have a timescale issue. But to say confidently, no, this is just never going to happen, I'm not sure how you can be so confident on that. I'm not confident. There's a level of confidence that I have, but it's not 100% in either direction. But the point is that moves are being made. We see early signs that companies are responding to it. And there's an open question of, is it going to be sufficient? And how much are tariffs going to lend to the strategy or take away from it? So look, my general note with economic discussions, I mean, even actual professional economists get this wrong. And this is one of those things where, honestly, I think what's underlying this whole debate for a lot of people is fundamentally, do you trust that this is a problem that needs to be solved? Do you trust the person trying to solve it? And do you trust the strategy that has been articulated? It sounds like where you're at is you don't trust that this is a problem that needs to be solved. You don't trust that Trump is a person to solve it. And you don't trust that there's a strategy. I trust that this is a problem to be solved. I'm unsure if Trump is the man to solve it. I am unsure on whether he has a correct policy to solve it because you haven't heard it thoroughly articulated comprehensively. But I think we need to do something because I don't think this is a sustainable track. And personally, I'm just happy that someone's trying to solve it at all.
Yeah, I don't know how we can say we're happy someone's trying to solve it at all when Trump has proven he had his first whole term where he proved he was horrible on things like the debt and the deficit. He added more to the debt than any president prior to that. A lot of the debt that accumulated even under Biden's term was a result of the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And a lot of the debt that we ended up, and a lot of the interest we paid on the debt that was accumulating under that. So there's no reason to believe that Trump would do anything good here because he failed in his first term. He's continuing to fail in his second term. Maybe something magical will change. The thing that bothers me the most when we say, is this something that we should talk about? In terms of like what is a healthy debt to GDP ratio, I think there probably is a good conversation to have there. And I think there's a good set of steps that we can probably take to alleviate some of the fiscal burden that we have in the United States. That conversation can't take place now because nobody has any idea what it should look like. A lot of people are deluded into thinking the debt should be zero. And a lot of people are now fixated on should we have a worldwide tariff policy that's been enacted unilaterally from the executive branch from a guy who has bankrupted casinos. And there's no reason to look.
The guy, the casino bankrupter guy is going to be the one doing world economic policy on his own? What?
At any of this and think that it's going to end positively. Nobody internationally thinks it's going to end positively. The markets don't think it's going to end positively. No foreign governments think it's going to end positively. Half the United States. Like, there's just, I mean, like, the frustrating part is that all of this will end up not working out in 4 years, and everybody's going to, on the conservative side, will be scratching their heads, like, thinking, like, well, who could have guessed? And it's like, well, you know, we saw it didn't work in the first admin. He added record levels to the debt and the deficit, and now it's not going to work in the second admin. He's taking even more catastrophic steps. So I don't know what conversation, you know, we can even realistically have about alleviating the debt now.
Trump on the campaign trail promised to hire Elon to cut waste, fraud, and abuse from the government. If you were to give DOGE a grade, how would you grade them?
Okay, so I'd say, you know, DOGE's stated goal is to remove $1 trillion from the deficit.
Well, there's no part of this last, bro.
On the spending side. Today, if we take the numbers to be accurate, they've saved $170 billion. Some of this is pending congressional approval to actually be concretized. But that's, I consider, a pretty good clip considering that they're less than 170 days even in office. Now, in order for them to save as much as they want to, I think they probably need to do more than just efficiency cuts, and then we get into more sensitive conversations about entitlements and things like that. My general thesis is, and this kind of goes back to the debt conversation and deficit conversation, something radical does need to be done. So I proceed from the basis that I'm happy something's being done at all. My biggest criticism of DOGE is I think the messaging has been really poor. It's been really...
Do I counter that? I don't know what you would call that. It's not a truism. It's like a thing you say that sounds good, but it's like clearly juvenile at best. Like some guy, imagine, has cancer and nobody really knows what to do. And it's like, it's bad. It's like stage 4 pancreatic cancer. We're trying to figure out like what the best, and then all of a sudden some dude pulls out a shotgun and he shoots him in his fucking abdomen. And you're like, excuse me, bro, what the fuck? And then everybody's like, whoa, 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 whoa. At least he's trying something, right? The doctors over here are like, we don't know if chemo rate. Nobody knew what to do. At least this guy fucking did something. Okay, at least he's trying something here. All right, like, what the fuck? What is that answer? What?
Really unclear what their criterion is for making cuts or for laying people off. It's been unclear how much of this is politically motivated, like when we consider the stuff with the USAID versus actually about massive efficiency gains. That said, what I've seen from him is a level of flexibility when it comes to making cuts where they're actually not impervious to feedback and they're amenable to making changes. So, for example, I know that they cut about 10,000 jobs from Health and Human Services, and they ended up reinstating 20% of them because they realized, hey, we actually need those jobs. I think it was similar with the Nuclear Security Administration. They cut, I want to say something like over 100 or 177 jobs, and they ended up reinstating a lot of them because they realized they need them. So there are cases where they overcut, and obviously when people overcut, like, that's bad, but they've shown that they're willing to be dynamic and flexible with correcting those overcuts. And I also think that the way that they've been treating the layoffs in particular has been a lot more humane than they've been given credit for, because the vast majority of the employees who've been let go have received severance, in many cases 8 to 12 months of severance. And that runs contrary to a lot of a dialogue on, like, hey, people...
I'm sorry, are we going to get to the waste, fraud, and abuse? I haven't heard any waste, fraud, and abuse yet. Are we on our way there? Or?
Are just losing jobs, and it's just complete chaos, and they're using a cudgel for everything. So overall, I would say I would give them a B+. I think it's a little early. I know.
A B+. To miss your target by an order of magnitude? A B+? You want to talk about grading on a curve? A B+? Even if I take his $1 trillion goal, it was 2, by the way. Even if I take his $1 trillion goal at face value, he was 90% under his goal. What? 10% of the goal.
I know it's meant to be sunset by July 2026. And look, there's a clear objective goal. Either they cut $1 trillion or not, and then we can be much more objective about how much it cut and whether it was enough. But overall, I'm positive on the changes that they've made. I'm positive on the fact that they're willing to take feedback. And I think one thing that people don't understand about the way DOGE is structured is they don't actually have statutory authority to make cuts unilaterally. It's not like Elon or anyone else in that department is just going in and cutting things without consulting with the agency or department heads. So given that in many cases they have an engineer, a lawyer, and then some sort of liaison for DOGE embedded in the department, and the department is actually agreeing, hey, yeah, we can make these cuts.
That came after, by the way.
I'm just happy that there's some sort of influence in these departments that is looking at this with a fresh eye and recommending cuts. B, I'm glad that departments are agreeing with those cuts and following through. And
yeah, but just as a heads up also, by the way, this guy is not a Trump supporter and this guy is not right wing. This guy is a centrist. He's an independent, okay? Remember.
I think this was necessary. I think the question is just on the margins, are they doing as good of a job as the ideal DOGE could do? So for me, it's B+.
Yeah, this is the easiest F in the world. DOGE came in promising $2 trillion in cuts, and they've walked away with anywhere from 50 to 150 billion, maybe. I don't know in what world you miss your target by an order of magnitude and still manage to get a passing grade. Also, DOGE's mission was to come in and find waste, fraud, and abuse, not try to make personnel cuts in programs that they don't like. So they didn't even hit their original mission at all. I'm going to be honest. I think every liberal was a little bit scared to see DOGE come in and find a whole bunch of waste, fraud, and abuse in the government because obviously that would look pretty bad. I did expect them to find some stuff. I'm actually astounded that they came in with like an open book to go through everything and came away with absolutely nothing. There's not a zero credible claim of waste, fraud, or abuse that DOGE came away with, despite the firings, despite going away with absolutely pretty bad thing. There's not a zero credible claim.
There was not a zero. Little bro's stumbling.
Of waste, fraud, or abuse that DOGE came away with, despite the firings, despite going in and, kicking out security guards, despite getting to go through as much data as they wanted to. The only thing we've gotten is a worse understanding of a lot of these agencies because Elon Musk himself has been involved in the proliferation of a lot of lies about them. For instance, spreading the lie that Social Security is paying out people that are over the age of 120 or whatever. This is a lie that's been repeated over and over and over again that every conservative will not believe until the day that they die because once you believe a lie that Trump has told you, you can never, ever, ever disavow that lie. They didn't manage to find any credible amounts of waste or fraudulent behavior or abusive behavior. They just went through and they control F for DEI and cut every whatever program they felt like they didn't like. I think it's a cowardly way for Trump to try to curb the size of government rather than presenting to Congress, here are systematic cuts that I think we should make in large, or programmatic cuts that we should make in large government programs to save money. They haven't done that. They're just trying to like fire random people to make savings. So, I mean, I don't know. They came in looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. It seems like they found none. I haven't heard of anything regarding that. No credible claims of that. And they missed their...
Wait, what is this? His Twitter account?
People.
The Elon did a Nazi salute story is the first of many misrepresentations we're going to see by individual content creators on social media over the next 4 years.
Make something up.
Trump, Elon, and DOGE are on a mission to cut federal spending by trillions of dollars and make government more efficient. But with all the chaos it's causing, one has to ask, is the cure worse than the wound? This past weekend, Elon announced that federal employees would have to provide email updates on a weekly basis, answering the question, what did you get done this week? And since it's been about a month since DOGE was founded, this is a good opportunity to ask, what did they get done this month? The country seems to be split into two realities. There are people who view what Trump, Elon, and the Department of Government Efficiency are doing as a hostile takeover of American government that's creating daily chaos. And there are people who view this as a revolution of the people taking back control of their government. In this video, we're going to explore why there are two wildly different interpretations of what's going on. I'll also provide my perspective on what's going on and the best way to view this. Can taxpayers' property and llama all try to cut government spending? Everyone but Clinton failed. Clinton created a surplus from 1998 to 2001, which promptly disappeared after that. Every president tells us they're going to fix our out-of-control spending and get our debt.
Okay. They're marked by at least an order of magnitude, maybe 2 orders of magnitude if they end up getting only 20 billion or whatever worth of cuts approved by Congress. So I don't know what world that's ever, especially given all the political capital expended on it, all the drama related to it. I don't know what world that could ever be seen as like a success in any way, size, shape, or form.
Cool. So it sounds like we have some facts to reconcile before we can even get to the subjective analysis. So let's just see if we agree on this. So I have heard from Howard Lutnick and Elon that the goal is $1 trillion. Maybe at some.
That's Kaizen. Elon Musk. As usual, excellent reasoning and judgment from That's Kaizen. Oh, wait, are these all Elon Musk retweets? Based. Holy shit, okay. Okay, based. All right.
Some prior point they said $2 trillion, but my understanding is their most up-to-date goal is $1 trillion in cuts to the deficit. Have you heard differently? Because you said $2 trillion.
Elon himself stated $2 trillion.
Oh, I missed that. That was sneaky what he just did there. He said their most up-to-date goal. So the one they walked back from $2 trillion? I don't think I even caught that in this
Let's see if we agree on this. So I have heard from Howard Lutnick and Elon that the goal is $1 trillion. Maybe at some prior point they said $2 trillion, but my understanding is their most up-to-date goal is $1 trillion in cuts to the deficit. Have you heard differently? Because you said $2 trillion.
Elon himself stated $2 trillion multiple times. They might have walked that back to $1 trillion. Even at $1 trillion, it's still an order of magnitude miss in terms of the cuts they found or found they recommended. Yeah.
Okay, good. And do we agree that the goal is to sunset DOGE by July 2026? So any cuts made now is not actually.
Yes, but my understanding is
that complete with the process.
Yes, but my understanding is the majority of what they've suggested is basically done. That they've kind of like taken a step back now. So they might find little things, but basically the majority of the bulk of the work is done at this point.
Okay, my understanding is not that. So my understanding is that Elon is.
Am I wrong on that? Because I thought I heard that like it's basically now gone back to being the USDS. Elon Musk is stepping back. Like they've done most of their major stuff, and now they're just kind of like recommending people inside each of the major departments to say like, hey, you should buy Microsoft 365 instead of renewing your Excel subscription. Like they're basically done with all their major cuts.
Special government employee. He's there for 130 days. He's used up the majority of that, so he can't be full-time on the team. But they have other people in DOGE. They have Amy Gleason leading it now. She used to be in the government, was in the government, and she's a more traditional full-time employee. And this work is going to continue until July of 2026, which means we have a full year to make up the gap between, you're calling it, 30 to 150 billion. They're saying on their website 170 billion. Probably the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't know. And then there's a question of how much of this actually gets approved by Congress and concretized. But to say it's an F, for me, it just sounds hyperbolic just because we're literally not at the finish line yet. And if we expected them to cut $1 trillion to $2 trillion, 130 days in, I think that was an unrealistic expectation. Now, if it is true, and I have not heard this, that the bulk of the cuts that can be made have already been made, then obviously that's a failure. But my understanding is no one is warranting that. The bulk of the work that Elon can do in this fiscal year has been done directly.
Make him commit to a position. Ask him a solid question. Do it.
But there's still a team there, right? There's still dozens of DOGE employees embedded in these departments continuing to make cuts. So again, this is one of those things where, unfortunately, the timing of this debate is such that we're a bit early in the process to assess the long-term impact of things like economic shifts or changes to spending. But I think to have a sense of proportionality, like we're not even halfway in to the amount of time that's been outlaid to make the changes on the DOGE side, and to already call it a failure doesn't make sense to me.
Well, have they found any waste, fraud, or abuse?
Well, so the Government Accountability Office in 2022 said they identified $250 billion.
Excuse me. Government Accountability Office? Is that DOGE? Does anybody know? Is the Government Accountability Office, is that DOGE?
Improper payments. Majority of that was overpayment, right? So there's tons of...
Yeah, but what you just said, that was like Government Accountability Office, not DOGE.
And DOGE is looking into the particulars of what those improper payments were.
Sounds like we already had an office that was looking into it. Sounds like what you've done is you've added another layer of pointless bureaucracy, which is supposed to be the whole thing you didn't like.
So what I'm saying is there's a bucket of at least $250 billion here that we know that in 2022 was wasted. Now, how much of that is fraud? How much is that abuse? I don't know. But that's what DOGE is looking into now.
I don't think DOGE is looking into that. I think the Government Accountability Office and I think that the Office of Inspector General is looking into that. The easiest way to pull the plug on this argument is if you really cared about saving money for the government, then the number one most efficient program to put money into is the IRS, of which they're trying to pull people out of. There's some $400 to $600 billion annually. That's every single year of money out there that the IRS just can't go after because they don't have the manpower for it. And Republicans gleefully try to pull employees out of it or take employees out of the IRS. And Trump just bragged about it. So I mean, like, I just don't think there's any real genuine effort there to actually save money because if they were, they would.
True. How many truths? Look at how concise. And it's like argument, empirical, fact. Just
on the IRS.
Okay, so there's a discussion to be had about what should they be doing instead. Let's not talk about what they have done because you think they haven't done anything. So at minimum, there's the $20 to $30 billion in untagged payments that were identified, and we don't know where the money went. We don't know what it was for. We don't know if it was coded to the budget, but it was identified that, hey, this is a very simple thing. For anyone who's ever worked at a corporation where you've had to pay things on behalf of the company, when you pay for things on behalf of the company, you tag it. You just like tag
They
it
do that in the
field.
government. Every time that DOGE brought that up, it was a lie.
Do you really think that $20 to $30 billion, do you know how much money that is? It's just slipping out of the government and no one has any fucking idea where it's going. There's no account. Just because in some database there's not a fucking label for it. Like...
Every single time it was a lie.
My understanding is it's not a lie.
It is a lie. That's why there's no prosecution that's been referred. That's why nobody's talking about specifically anything. It's all a lie.
True. I'm sorry, $20 to $30 billion is being stolen. There's no tag on any of it. Who's being prosecuted for this? That's a lot of money. $20 to $30 billion? This is like the biggest fraud in all of you. Is it $20 to $30 billion? Who's being prosecuted for it?
It's a lie. Let me tell you how, if it were true, it would work. It's literally, there's a field that's optional where you can indicate what the payment is for. It was not indicated. And this doesn't mean that there was a mass amount of fraud, but it was
I'm so sorry, but anybody that's worked in any accounts receivable or any fucking company ever in their entire fucking life knows it doesn't work this way. Even in my business, I have people that do fucking invoices and you've got to wire money to a particular account for a particular reason. Like, in what world? Walk me through the process where money gets from a government coffer to some business and no one has any idea what the transaction or process looks like. Like, who's requesting the money? Who's sending the money? From what account to what account is it going to? What is the payment? Like, there's no possible way that it's like, today in the government, it's time to send money, and I log into, who is this? No one cares. I log into, U.S. government bank, send 20 billion to Frank, purpose? I don't know, enter, like, what? When does this ever happen? Billion. We're talking $20, $30 billion, okay? That's a lot of money.
These are very simple things where, hey, the systems were not properly designed to make sure that we have accountability and transparency over how every single dollar was spent. Now, how much of that is incompetence? How much of that is malfeasance? I don't know. You're saying it's completely a lie, and I guess I don't know what the implication here is, that every single payment is tagged and we know exactly where every dollar
went.
Government
If you know anybody that works in government or does anything, they're pretty carefully accounted for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if appeal to authority. I don't know if, like, you know someone in government who's told you.
Appeal to authority?
this is a lie. But at minimum, if we agree that we trust the GAO and we trust that when they say that there's $250 billion in underpayments, overpayments, and payments that they don't know where it went, then the question is, okay, well, how much of that $250 billion at least has DOGE captured? I'm identifying 20 to 30 billion and saying, hey, we know that, or allegedly, according to them, and you don't believe them, but I'm taking it at face value. They're saying it was not tagged, and now it's getting tagged. So that's a very simple change that's been made that it doesn't get us all of the way there, but it's a demonstrable difference in moving the needle on actually cutting the amount of spending that the government is doing. In addition to that, I mean, the Social Security Administration for years has identified that yeah, there is fraud in Social Security, there is fraud in payouts, and DOGE has been on top of looking at that too. So unfortunately, it feels like there's just a bit of an unbridgeable divide, because if you're just saying it's a lie, like, I'm actually interested in how you can prove the negative here.
Well, it's super simple on my side. So when you're talking about those mistypes of payments, okay, fine. Let's say that there was some fraudulent behavior there. Who's been recommended for charges? What is the FBI or the DOJ going after? The answer for these is always going to be nobody and nothing, because all of it is a lie. Whether or not there's like a payment tagged on a database, anybody that's worked with a sophisticated enough system knows that there's sometimes multiple systems, sometimes stuff is tagged, sometimes it's not.
Oh, good job. I bring this up. Thank God.
Because it's not tagged doesn't necessarily mean that it's fraudulent, wasteful,
or that it's just like some random fucking billions of dollars that are slipping out of a bank account that nobody's keeping track of.
Or that somebody else is accounting for. A really great example of this is the claims that Elon Musk and Trump have made about the Social Security Administration paying people that are over 120 years old or whatever. There's a file externally that is the SSA updates called the DMF, the Death Master File. That file they'll update sometimes with cause of death or death that other agencies or creditors can kind of like use just to look at it to help them monitor stuff. That's not the same record, for instance, that the Social Security Administration uses to pay people out. The idea that we're paying thousands of people who are already dead was a total lie. That was said over and over again, and is still said to this day by the majority of conservatives, by Trump and by Elon. But when you actually read, because the SSA has its Office of Inspector General, you can read the report. This has been known that updating that Death Master file sometimes is like really difficult for a variety of reasons. It doesn't mean there are fraudulent payments going out. When you're talking about payments going out as a result of inappropriate payments, my understanding is about 60% of those are recovered, 40% aren't. Sometimes it can be simple as like a person dies and then an SSA check goes out like the next day, and then they have to like recover it. Most of the time it's pretty easy to do, it's pretty trivial. I don't think DOGE is helping recover any of this. And like I said, if there was any
I've never heard it. Is DOGE helping the SSA recover? Maybe they are. If they are, I haven't heard this. It's possible that they somehow are, but
waste, fraud, or abuse, then I would expect we would see some type of criminal charge or something recommended to the DOJ, and that just hasn't happened. It won't happen.
Yeah, so I mean, again, we're prognosticating about whether it will happen. We're very early into the administration. Maybe it happens. Maybe they actually do prosecute people. And in many cases, I don't think a prosecution is needed, because if it's simply waste and it's simply error and it's simply entropy, you don't need to prosecute someone for that all the time. As you just acknowledged yourself, sometimes there's many systems. Some of them are antiquated. Some of them are not talking to each other. And even in the case that 60% of these funds are recovered, 40% are not, then there's a large S that we can actually recover and we can actually be looking into. So
fund the SSA.
Sorry?
Stop pulling employees in from the SSA. Fund the SSA.
Yeah, and
fund the department that does the work on this particular thing. Why would you fund a third party to come in and do this?
Might not be an issue of funding the SSA. It might be an issue of making the SSA more efficient and actually updating the systems and updating this DMF, as you pointed out. Or
it's like, and it's, I don't even know what to say. It's like all the bullshit talk. I have to do this. I have to do one podcast episode. I just want to do 1 3-hour show with a person where I just want to talk like this the whole time. Because I don't know if people realize like how empty and hollow it is. Like yesterday, so Dan brought me over and I looked at Redact. And Dan paid me $1 million to do a consultation for Redact. And when I looked at it, one of the things I realized was it was the most unbelievably inefficient allocation of human resources that I've ever seen in my entire life. And so we optimized and we streamlined a ton of the different pathways that the employees were using to access a lot of the files, and just the way that they were pushing updates has just been made so much better. We're using different optimizations, and we've improved and streamlined the whole process. And now there's like corporate-wide accountability mechanisms and stuff in order to drive like greater efficiency. It's like, what the fuck are you saying? This is the most empty bullshit-ass PR talk I've ever heard in my fucking life. Give me one example, one concrete fucking example of anything. This is empty PR bullshit. This is the business cut. It's all of this. All of this is the business cut. It's all this.
Hi everyone, this is Skunkface here. And you may or may not have noticed, but I just received a business cut. Now, what does this mean for the brand of Skunk Paste? Well, essentially it means you're going to be seeing a great new viral outreach burst of business-related content. What does that mean? It means viral approach, marketing schemes, theoretical distribution, employee relation management. Diabolical web overdrive, advertisement sensibility, outreach announcements, quantized distribution, online web content, pivotal techniques to increase your marketability and sales output, stock portfolio tip trading, techniques, stock investment leeway opportunities. More content delivered straight to your feed. How can I increase my growth? What are my sales figures? What's my bottom line?
You'd be looking into. So
fund the SSA.
Sorry?
Stop pulling employees in from the SSA. Fund the SSA.
Yeah, and it it might not be an issue of funding the SSA. It might be an issue of making the SSA more efficient and actually updating the systems and updating this DMF, as you pointed out. Or, as I understand it, there are systems that are coded on really old code called Cobalt, and people don't.
I don't think I even touched this. Like, yes. My face when some fucking middle manager dipshit reads about the newest fucking framework and is like, why haven't we updated all of our systems? Excuse me. Why are we running on C when there's C++? Or why aren't we on Ruby on Rails? I don't even know what the memes are. Fuck, I need to update the memes. Why aren't we on the latest, bestest framework? Your board is what, PHP? How old is that? Why would you use something that's so old?
Not many coders are actually coding Cobalt anymore. So it's like, why are we using old systems? So some of this is just
like what? I don't know. Like, what are the Cobalt systems we're talking about? Is this like some fundamental like thing that's like just transacting between, like, why would do you need to up, like, what do we even talk? I'm sorry, I don't know. Like, this is the equivalent of Elon when he's like, we need to redo the whole stack. It's Cobalt, okay? The blue stuff from Terraria. It's okay.
Modernizing the systems that we have in government and getting off of old software licenses we're not using anymore, canceling old contracts that we're not using anymore, and just modernizing and making things more efficient. And the proof of that being done effectively wouldn't mean necessarily that people are going to jail. The proof of that would be that the actual amount of spending goes down. So again, as I said before, the proof of this should not be that people are going to jail over waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, the fraud for sure. But the proof of this should be that the actual number is going down. And you've acknowledged that there's somewhere...
Waste, fraud, and abuse. At least 2 out of 3 of those, I would imagine, are criminal. Fraud and abuse? No?
Between 30 and 150 billion that they actually have saved, so there's something. It's not nothing, as you've been saying sometimes. They're reporting that's 170 billion dollars in saving. Even if the truth is somewhere in between, even if we cut it at halfway, let's say we take the halfway point and it's somewhere between 80 and 120 billion, that's substantive. And my question to you, Stephen, is do you think that there should be well, actually, it's not fair to say that because you did say that there should be a plan presented to Congress and that's the way that we should do it. I would say, well, we've tried that so many times. We've tried that so many times. The best that we've been able to save is like $30 billion. And I'm glad that there's some sort of different approach where we're bringing in people from private industry. We're focusing on not just conventional government planning to actually reduce the amount that we spend and actually trying to modernize systems, make them more efficient, and just update government. So yeah, that's why I give it a B+. I can understand why you wouldn't want to give it a B+. I don't understand how you can give it an F given that we're literally not at July 2026.
A B+. How can you miss your mark? Like, imagine this world, bro. Like, Joe Biden's economy. We had inflation that was out of control. Okay, but we beat every other economy in the world coming out of COVID. The dollar was on a fucking rampage against other currencies, and international faith in the U.S. economy was at its highest. Sorry, I give him an F. I give him a fucking F. An F? For what? For how much? An F. Okay. Then surely DOGE, which is B+, we don't know where it's going to go yet, and at least they're trying hard, okay? Plus, I can't read their state of mind. I can read Biden's state of mind, though, and he's a satanic child fucker. But DOGE is still trying, okay? Trump gets graded on effort, and Biden gets graded on whatever the perceptions of him are and whatever Elon Musk tweet I read.
They to find waste, fraud, and abuse. They didn't find waste, fraud, and abuse. They came in to make suggestions for cuts to programs because Republicans have given up on trying to govern this country. If Republicans want to cut from the government, if they actually want to decrease the amount that they spend, then you go to government to do government. You don't get to bring in a guy who's frying his brain on ketamine to try to make a whole bunch of arbitrary cuts in personnel because you're too lazy or stupid to figure out how to actually write the bills to cut the departments. I don't like this idea that conservatives...
True! Fucking true! If you want to cut government, cut the fucking government. Cut the fucking government. Go to government and do it. Stop trying to shortcut the process. You lazy fuck. Not him.
Go, well, it was too hard, so we brought in a guy unilaterally to just start hacksawing stuff, and this is our way of doing it. DOGE was brought in to find waste, fraud, or abuse, not reread to me in a less coherent voice things that are on Government Accountability Office or Office of Inspector General reports from 2022 or 2023.
True! Why do I need DOGE, the fucking reprinting agency? It sounds to me like what DOGE needs is a fucking printer so that they can print off reports from 3 years ago and read them like they're presenting it for the first time to the class.
It's a waste of money. It's a demonstration of a lack of ability to do business. Elon Musk became everybody's worst middle manager. Anybody that's worked in private industry knows how annoying it is to get a random email from some C-level exec saying, send me 5 things that you work on this week. Oh, like it was so annoying that half the cabinet heads were like telling their departments. I think Kash Patel, maybe Hegseth was saying like, guys, don't waste your time responding to this. This is stupid. Okay, this is dumb. It was a total failure in every single like size of the way you can measure it up. It was a failure. They came in looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. They came away with personnel cut recommendations because they don't know how to recommend these things to Congress. And the small things that we want to take credit for DOGE, like you're talking about optimizing systems, that department was already in place. Obama put it in place. It's called USDS, which is what DOGE kind of like became a cancer onto. It was the United States Digital Service, which was supposed to go around and optimize government systems. If they wanted to, and I don't like this because Trump will suggest something crazy and stupid, and then when it comes comes and it fails, everybody tries to walk it back to a more reasonable program. If DOGE had come in saying, we want to help the USDS make the federal government more efficient, and we think that there are ways that we can do that, okay, well then fine, that's cool.
That's great.
That wasn't what was promised. What was promised was Elon Musk saying $2 trillion in cuts from a $1.7 trillion discretionary budget, which is what our spending is on the discretionary level, by finding waste, fraud, and abuse. The numbers that he cited over and over again were crazy. And at the end, we came away with drama related to shuttering departments unilaterally, like USAID, or we came away with personnel cut recommendations, which are neither waste, nor fraud, nor abuse. So it's an easy F.
Yeah.
Fucking
So I would say that personnel cuts can be cutting waste. I mean,
can be. Well, it could be cutting waste. It could be. My God. Waste, fraud, and abuse. And what do we come away with? Well, maybe we should fire a few people. Why? Because we don't like that department. Okay.
I mean, if there's a certain amount of people doing a job and we can do the job with fewer people, then anyone above that we don't need. And that's unfortunate because obviously it sucks for those people who are doing the job to be removed from the job. But this is very normal in private industry. You say, hey, we actually have too many employees to do something that now either due to better systems or better technology, we can do with fewer people. So I would say that laying off people does constitute removing waste. And I'm not sure what you consider waste that wouldn't be personnel cuts. There's obviously examples.
Just also, by the way, we're playing the games here. Not a single fucking person would take that perspective on waste when it's coupled with waste, fraud, and abuse. When you're thinking of waste, you're thinking of like money that's being spent in is it duplicitous? Like where you're like you're buying like 7 versions of the same thing, or money is slipping away in invoices that you're like losing track of, or you're in a like a horrendously unoptimized environment, like overpaying for stupid shit. Like no one is ever thinking like, oh, wasteful spending. Let's cut this department. That's not waste. That's like a programmatic change
of waste that are not just personnel cuts, but I would say personnel cuts falls under the category of waste. So to say, oh, well, all you did is cut employees, that's not actually resolving waste, fraud, and abuse. I think it's categorically not true.
I don't think there's any way
let me finish what I'm saying. Some of what you said, I mean, Elon being fried on ketamine, and Republicans are not trying to govern the country. I mean, this is like theorizing about people's state of mind and ad hominem. I don't think that's really necessary. And I'm not really interested in speculating on what Elon's mental state is or Republicans' motivations. But again, we go back to the higher level problem, which is that we have a massive deficit. In my mind, we need to get a handle on it. At least directionally, we need to get a handle on it so it doesn't increase. We've tried the traditional approaches that you've identified. We've tried the conventional government agencies, other agencies, and then make recommendations to Congress, and then Congress approves those changes, and it hasn't been working. And that's why we need to, as annoying as it could be to have a private industry middleman involved in the picture, look to private industry. And this is not completely without precedent. I mean, Henry Ford helped the government, Howard Hughes helped the government. We've had business magnates help the government at stages in the U.S.'s development before.
Now, whether you think Kaizen or Destiny is winning the debate so far, one thing is for sure, your data shouldn't be part of the argument. This episode is sponsored by Private Internet Access, the VPN trusted by millions to protect their digital freedom. Now, right now, every time you browse, stream, or scroll, your IP...
Yeah, you're right. I need to stop saying that phrase. I should just say 10% instead of orders of magnitude. An order of magnitude is a massive difference. It's an increase or a decrease by a factor of 10, right? If you're off by an order of magnitude, it's a tremendous amount to be off on something like that. But you're right, I should just stop saying that. I should just say it was 10%, because it probably sounds better to just say like they were 1,000%, over, or they were 10% of their goal or something, I guess.
IP address, location, and private PIA encrypts your, and it's not just your privacy country's activity ever. That's an Android, plus it protects unlimited devices at once. Go to peace of mind, ketamine, or whether we should use the internet. Now, don't browse naked. PIA has got your back.
So the question again is not whether Elon's on ketamine or whether we should be bringing individuals from private industry. The question is, how do we actually get this deficit in hand? And I haven't seen any public sector approach that's been successful. I see a private industry success that is at least more successful than every approach prior, because the most savings that we've ever gotten is around 30 billion. And if that's a low end of your range, then DOGE is actually already doing better than they've done in the past. And I think that's something that shows early signs of promise. Again, if we don't get it through Congress, a lot of this doesn't actually end up mattering at the end of the day. But I would like to hear what is an approach that we haven't tried, that we should try, that doesn't involve private industry, that you think would work.
A real approach would be having people come together when you go to make the budget and suggesting these are programs that we need to make. We actually need to make programmatic cuts to huge parts of the federal government. But the problem is nobody wants to do that because they know that U.S. citizens generally enjoy those programs, and so they're too cowardly to actually cut from any of those programs. So that's one way to do it, is to cut from the programs. The second way to do it is to keep the programs the same size, but to continue to grow the economy. And Trump is doing the exact opposite of both of those. Our economy is contracting right now because he's destroying faith in the USD and faith in the United States at large across the world.
True.
And because we're reducing our tax receipts, our revenue, by way of extend the tax cuts for the Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So again, if we were ever going to have a conversation on the debt, on the deficit, I think that we could have that conversation, but now we're even further from having that conversation because we're fixated on whatever DOGE is or whatever this is. We're not going to, like, if the deficit, the budget deficit, and of course the debt will grow, but if the deficit grows or stays the same, will you admit that it was an utter failure the entire 4 years? If after a year or two we say, okay, well, this has failed, this is not working?
Yes, because then enough time will have expired for us to see the objective result, and the objective result was not met, so absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And just
well, at least we asked the question. Do you really think?
To be clear, Stephen, I mean, obviously we don't know each other well, but when you say like conservatives or Republican, I consider myself neither of those. I know you're not necessarily saying I am, but we're addressing a party that's not in the room, and I'm not here to argue on their behalf. What I'm saying is that there's a problem that needs to be addressed, and the way that the first solution that you propose, which is that we propose programmatic adjustments, we tried that, and it hasn't worked.
No, the Republicans aren't trying that.
No, Republicans and Democrats don't do that.
Democrats do try, but Republicans are half of Congress.
And all of Congress doesn't do it, and we don't accomplish it, and it doesn't seem to matter who has the majority. It doesn't get done.
Because
Obama
Republicans
tried
aren't
to do
even
this too.
trying.
He tried to make cuts. It was like trivial cuts on the margins, shutting down old websites. At the end of the day, what's happened is clearly our government by itself is not sufficient to actually solve this problem. We need a creative approach to solving this problem. This is, hopefully we can agree, undoubtedly creative.
Like he's the shotgun. It's the shotgun. Like I just want to, if I just pump my friend, okay, full of fucking buckshot, all right, like that's so at least that we're trying something. Like
some clear downsides. What I agree with you is this public spectacle around DOGE and like constantly like people arguing on X about whether a program should be cut and all the partisan
who was the last person who balanced? Do I bring that up? That Clinton was the last person
around it is sad, unnecessary, and distracting. So that's why for me it's like I'm not willing to give it an A because the messaging has been so politicized and
I'm not willing to give it an A because they were too political. You mean the organization that was headed by the guy who bought a social media platform to support Donald Trump? It was too political, really?
So hyperbolic, but we need something different. And you're saying
so it's not even a result. He just wouldn't give them an A because the messaging was too like, come on, dude.
The Republicans won't get in line. To me, neither house seems to be getting in line with it because no cuts are not popular because yes, many Americans like these programs that we have and no one likes to have things taken away. And what I've seen, to your point about like programs getting cut, that's what DOGE has been doing. Now, if we have a disagreement on whether these programs that have been cut should be cut, I think it's a healthy discussion to have. Like we can talk about USAID, whether that should be removed. We can talk about the departments that have been downsized. We can talk about Health and Human Services getting rid of 2,000 employees. All these things are reasonable discussions to have. But what I don't think is a reasonable discussion to have is discussions about whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans and talking about these hypotheticals where all the Congress people get together and solve because it just hasn't been working. And frankly, as an American taxpayer and someone who's been observing government from the outside for years now, it's like I'm just glad that we're trying something different.
I mean, like the Republicans throwing their hands up, and it's the meme comic of we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. If Republicans want to govern, the country's here to be governed. But as long as half the country
True.
is just having an epic time following Trump into whatever abyss they're happy to follow him into, nothing is going to get done. Like none of the DOGE stuff is probably going to get solidified by Congress. Most of the people in Congress are not happy with any of the suggested cuts. It's just nothing. Like when Republicans decide, okay, well, we have to actually come together and we need to start writing legislation, then something will get done. It's not a both sides issue. Democrats are able to pass way more legislation. The economy and the budget, both, so fiscally and the economy, tend to do better under Democrats.
True.
Every time a Democrat comes back into office, they have to waste the first year or two trying to bail them out of whatever catastrophe the last Republican got them into. When Obama came in, it was trying to recover from the housing crisis. When Biden came in, it was recovering from COVID. And then afterwards, you get a Republican who came in. Look, you've got Donald Trump coming in now. He came in off of Obama's heated economy and tried to take credit for the economy growing out of that, even though Trump added record levels to the debt and deficit. And now Trump has come in after the economy was doing great under Biden. We were dominating OECD and G7 like in every single way. And now he's like managed to cause an economic contraction after a quarter. It's frustrating to see.
It's okay. Obviously, I'm biased towards my way of speaking, okay? But like this, look at the density and facts here, okay? Right? Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to speak like a fucking autistic wizard, okay? But like, look at the density of facts, okay? This is my argument, okay? This is what's happened. This, okay? What's your argument? Well, directionally, I think it's good that in the social sphere we're having conversations about the conversations are bad because they're doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we've already seen the passage. Like, okay, but
a Democrat comes in and has to clean up after the last Republican. The last budget deficit, or I'm sorry, the last budget surplus we had was under Clinton, was under a Democrat. It's just frustrating. The Democrats have to come in, clean up the mess. The Republicans come in, they make more and more of a mess. They spend like crazy, and then everybody goes, "Wow, both parties in the United States sure are messed up right now." Like it's just that blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to make this a partisan conversation, but I think the framing of
I don't want to make a partisan conversation. We're talking about politics. How do we fix a fucking problem? We have two sides to vote for. We go over the Republicans, we go over the Democrats. What do you mean we're not going to be partisan? How do we not have a conversation about which side can alleviate the problems better?
Republicans mess it up and then Democrats clean it up. I don't think that's accurate at all. I mean, even if we talk about Clinton creating this surplus, he inherited the conditions for a surplus to be created, and for sure he stewarded that. But those the deregulation efforts that created the economy.
I don't think I bring this up, but he inherited the conditions for a surplus to be created. So did Donald Trump. That's why it happened his first term, and he fucked up his second term. And it only happened his first term because the deep state, meaning all the bureaucrats he was too retarded to remove, kept the fucking system running on rails. And in the second time, the guardrails were broke. And now we're in fucking retardsville, okay? Where everybody's talking about if we're going to have 135% tariffs on China, or whether or not Donald Trump is going to have fucking prima nocta, he's going to fuck all of our new wives. Okay, that's the conversation we have in the United States right now.
That was booming by the time he entered office, and early when he entered office, that was instantiated by Reagan. So if we're going to say that, oh, well, it's the Democrats just inherit messes and then they spend the first few years cleaning things up, I don't think that's true. In Bush's case, I think that was true, because I think Bush was one of the worst presidents of all time, and I think Obama had to recover from Bush, and we saw the housing crisis.
And Trump inherited Obama's economy and took credit for it and massively spent. He did a huge...
I did bring it up. Oh my God, yes. Oh, I love watching myself debate. And I know all the examples now too. Oh God, yes, good job. Good point. Okay, sorry.
Of all time, and I think Obama had to recover from Bush, and we saw the housing crisis.
And Trump inherited Obama's economy and took credit for it and massively spent. He did a huge tax cut without pairing it with any spending cuts.
And they all spend, right?
They all spend. Donald Trump spent the most.
Republicans spend more.
Yes! I'm pretty sure in
Bush on both wars and Trump. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
In point of fact, I'm pretty sure Biden actually spent more than Trump. Now, obviously, those are black
Only because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
swan event in
Say
COVID.
it, say it, say
and
it.
that,
No,
yeah,
say it.
Biden had all of
Say
COVID.
it.
Trump only had
Donald Trump's budget deficits were already the highest in all of U.S. history before COVID. Before COVID.
part of COVID, but
Say
I'm
it.
pretty
Say
sure
it.
in point of fact,
Most of the
Biden actually
extra
spent
spending under Biden was because of the tax cuts
Cuts
from
and Jobs
Trump.
Act,
The
yeah.
Trump tax cuts and Jobs Act that they're
And
trying to renew now.
bring up
Like
the
all
other
of the
thing.
extra interest on the debt and then all of the extra basically lost revenue
Before
from that
COVID.
was passed from Trump that was
Yes.
carried over into Biden's
Before
advent.
COVID.
Yeah, but we can't do this thing where Republicans are
missed
not
it.
responsible
Dumb
for any
fuck.
success that they ride the tailwinds of, and Democrats are not responsible for any failures that they have to ride the headwinds of.
No one's saying that. I'm saying that I can point to measurable Republican failures over and over again.
Yeah, but I'm saying you say Trump inherited Obama's economy.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, he stewarded the economy that he had. It didn't go off a cliff, and there's something to be said for that. And similarly, Clinton did the same with Reagan. So
Republican, he didn't steward the economy. He overheated it. And then they cried about inflation a few years later.
Yeah.
He came in under Obama, and the markets went from growing 10, 15% every year to 20 to 25% every year for 3 years. And he did that with a massive deficit spend.
And he was, he did it with, he fucking did the tax cuts. He cried to the fucking Federal Reserve, please keep interest rates low or I'm going to fucking kill myself.
By cutting all these taxes and not pairing them with any government spending cuts. And then the same Republicans now want to come in and say, well, Trump's going to be the guy to save our budget. He couldn't do it when the economy was going well. Why would we expect him to do it now?
well, I would say in the case of like overheating the economy, remember a lot of these changes were made in, as we both acknowledged, prosperous economic times, and then COVID hit, and then the same tax cuts and things that they did in times pre-COVID were not that effective post-COVID. And I will say,
Why would you, but if your economy's running well, that's your time to raise money. Everybody's doing well, so I can take more money from them. You don't need to do a tax cut when the economy's already booming. Why? We're already doing fine. Pump the brakes a little bit, chief, and collect some money.
say to Biden's credit, I think he inherited a really difficult situation and he prevented it from going completely off of a cliff.
He didn't just prevent it from going off the cliff. He sailed us over that cliff, okay, on a fucking airship.
Again, when we say, oh, well, if we talk about what level of confidence that we should have that Trump is able to resolve the debt and the deficit, given that he didn't do it the first time.
Yeah, you're right. I do miss that. I don't know why I didn't correct him on that. Clinton did not come after Reagan. Clinton came after a one-term president because Bush was just one term, right? Like, so, yeah.
The first time, I'm not confident that he was even trying. I think he was taking the economy that he had and trying to add more gas to it, and he did that until
I should have corrected him on that
point where it was no longer a viable option per COVID. And when we say that, Trump is inheriting an economy that was booming under Biden, I don't think that was the experience of a lot of Americans on the ground. I mean, yeah, I guess equities were doing well, and I guess some of the top line was looking really good, but a lot of the reason why Trump got elected in the first place is because the average American, the cost of their groceries and their gas and their eggs and the things that they actually experience on a day-to-day basis were going up. And then over the longer term, the cost of houses were going up because interest rates were so high too. So even this framing of, oh, well, he inherited this booming economy, I guess it depends on what you call economy, but the actual economic experience of the average Americans was not good under Biden, and that's exactly why Trump got elected. And so, again, I'm just talking about this fundamental frame.
And now they're like, actually, we'll pay even more prices as long as it's American-made and we're blah, 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 blah.
Of, things were good, and then Trump either came in and just rode that high, or he messed it up after things were good. I think it's demonstrably not what happened last year.
I think you can look at literally any economic indicator, and every single thing on paper will agree with the assertion that I'm making. And I just want to say it's a fantastic way to frame Trump's first 4 years as saying they were bad because he wasn't even trying when he was the president of the United States of America. But
I would say,
oh yeah, he was like, well, Trump didn't even try the first 4 years. It's 4 years to be the president. What do you mean he wasn't even trying? That's not an excuse that you use when you're the president. That's the excuse when you lose to your girlfriend in foosball. Okay? What do you mean I wasn't even trying?
It wasn't a priority. Like, as I recall, debt and deficit were not as much of a priority. And I don't think it's been, honestly, a big priority for any president in terms of...
Okay, I can't watch the rest. Listen, that's on that one guy's channel. Watch it if you want. Sorry. Okay. Imagine if you had even like 1% of this charitability to fucking Democrats. It would be insane. 1% of this charitability. 1%. Double, helix, snail, king, conch, queen, twin, rook, electronic junk, ace, ringer, jack, lobe, clone, chain. Oh, cute. Red herring. Okay. Oh, bed size. A what? A king bed, a queen bed, a twin, a double. Can't you? There are double beds, right? Am I crazy? Double. Is that a real size? Or no? I'm thinking of full. Never mind. I'm a retard, I think. Okay, king, queen, twin. That wasn't even one off. Okay, don't care. Oh man, we're on some hardcore misdirection here. Whoever made this must be real proud of themselves. Okay, king, queen, ace, jack. Oh, Jesus. Hello?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, don't worry. I'm just going to be quick. New edition of the Pragmatic Papers is out. Everybody should go read it. There's. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, your stream just turned back on for some reason. Jesus. Sorry. There's a really cool article in there by. Okay, I'm going to mess this name up. Ellen Dissel. I'm so sorry. Called Systemic Orthodoxy. It's a really, really cool article about scuba diving, rocket engine building, and then kind of how we need to be updating our management styles and systems and stuff. Everybody should read it. It's just a good time. Then also there's a really great one in there about universal injunctions by Kim. I'm going to mess this one up too. Damn it. Kim Minju Angel. I hope that's it. Everybody should go read it. Through the link in the chat. Yeah. Otherwise, it's all good. Sorry.
Based?
Yeah, I missed your debates. Did you win? Did you beat all the
I
mortgage
dominated.
lords?
They're all renters now. Like 4 people sold their homes after.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Thank you. Now the landlords truly get to win. Hey, I was on. I hopped onto Pisco's stream, and he told me about this guy named Hassan Piker who got stopped at the airport.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah, it was a crazy
Okay.
infringement of his First Amendment rights. If anybody ever asks you a question about politics, your First Amendment rights are automatically infringed. I heard that.
Oh, damn it. Okay, because yeah, he tried. He was shocked whenever I said it was okay for Customs and Border Patrol to ask questions to American citizens when they enter the country.
The problem isn't asking the questions. The problem is the problem is if somebody's making decisions based off of it. It's like the difference between like a cop can't search your car for no reason, but he can ask you, and if you say yes, that he can, right? But go ahead, sorry.
Right. It's the volunteering of the information, right? So he hit me with this one hypothetical where it was, let's say American citizens show up to an American airport and they say, okay, we've got 3 lines: Republican, Democrat, Independent, self-organize, and we're gonna tell you up ahead before you get in there, though, or the policy is that Republicans are gonna have to answer 2 extra questions about where they were on January 6th. And he asked me if I thought that would be a First Amendment violation, or infringing on the First Amendment rights at the very least. And I said, if
it would almost
if there
certainly
was
be,
a
right?
serious, well, I would say that it would be incredibly hard to meet strict scrutiny.
Yeah.
But it's possible that they could meet it. Like if it was January 7th and they found evidence that there were other American citizens that were Republicans that were attempting other domestic terrorist threats, right? Where it's like, okay, we got to fucking find these guys and prevent that harm, right? It's more about just kind of why is that policy being put into place?
Yeah.
And so he then turned it back on me and said, okay, well, if the only purpose of that Customs Border Patrol agent to hold him for the
I will say
Go
as a quick thing, because you should be very careful. If you want to answer that hypothetical, I think you totally can, but you should be very careful. There is 0 evidence whatsoever that Hassan was pulled over because he doesn't like Donald Trump. I think we'd be in a different world if somebody had gone up to him and when he filled out his whatever bullshit at the line, and they were like, hey, just curious, what do you feel about Donald Trump? And he's like, oh, I hate Donald Trump. And they're like, okay, we're going to need you to come over and we're going to answer a few questions. That would meaningfully change it for me. I think that would be very strange, because now you're in a weird world where are you polling people on their opinion of Donald Trump and then asking questions afterwards, which is Hassan tries to imply that this was what was happening, but there's 0 evidence that that was the case. Once they pull you in, they can ask you whatever the fuck questions they want. It's if they're making decisions based on your answers politically, that's when it's not okay, right?
Well, but 1 second. I mean, like, I think I might not. Maybe I'm not understanding it. When you say your answers, if they ask you a question about your politics and you give them an answer, and then they say, okay, we're going to pull you for further questioning because of your answer, you think that's a problem?
Well, on terms of like, do you like Donald Trump or something? Yes, I think that would be highly problematic, because then it's a scrutiny question, right?
That's like too vague or too general.
Well,
right? Yeah.
Not even that it's being vague or general. It feels like you're being burdensome for no good particular reason. You're burdening a person's rights for what? To politically persecute them?
Right. So, and in this case, Pisco put it to me where like he believes that the current administration is trying to chill speech around pro-Palestinians, and if that was the purpose of Hassan's, being taken to a secondary questioning and things like that, I would say yes. In that case, probably that was a violation of his rights, and they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah,
that.
but again, we have zero evidence.
I don't have evidence.
Yeah, we have zero evidence that he was pulled in because
yeah.
they're trying to chill speech around Palestine. Zero evidence. If anything, we have tons of evidence to the contrary, because it seems like the total time for that questioning was like 20 minutes, and Hassan answered everything wrong. If you were trying to avoid getting fucked by the government, he said, "I don't like Trump. Whatever." Interviewed these people, and he got out just fine with no problems whatsoever. So if anything, it points in the exact opposite direction.
Right, and that was kind of a thing I put on him, where it was like, do we know what would have happened if Hassan said, "I don't want to answer this question"? Do we know, is it for sure that he would then be detained? Right? Is it where they're saying, if Hassan doesn't provide this answer, then now automatically we assume that he's evil or bad and dangerous, so we got to detain him.
And by Hassan's own testimony, he literally says, "I was trying to push it as far as I could, and nothing happened." So, I mean, if anything, he proved that there doesn't seem to be that type of questioning in place right now, because Hassan would literally be a picture-perfect target, right? And we know. Remember, don't do the fascist thing where your opponent is simultaneously super smooth, super smart, and super crafty and clever, but also like fucking retarded at the same time. This is what the fascists do all the time on the right? Where there's this coherent democratic deep state that's controlling everything. Oh, but they couldn't rig this election, even though they rigged the last one, right? The Trump administration, these people are fucking retards, and they're out in the open, and they're blatantly disgusting and over the top with everything they do. The idea that this administration would, in a top secret manner, implement some sort of secretive questionnaire to try to weed out people, bullshit. Trump would be on the news with Pam Bondi kneeling in front of him saying, "Just so you know, we're going to be asking people questions when they come back into the United States, and if they don't like me, we're going to kick them out." Trump would just say that, okay? He's not a crafty. They're not a clever, subtle people, right? They did this with Eric Adams. They literally said in a public statement, in a publicly published thing, right? "Hey, we're going to suspend your charges for, until the next election, and we're not saying you guys did anything wrong, but we're going to go ahead and suspend this entire investigation, just so you know, and we're going to fire fucking everybody until we're done." Like, come on. Sorry.
No, you're right. No, it's right, because you're like, if they had been trying to do this to Hassan, one, it would have gone worse, and two, we wouldn't have heard about it from Hassan. We would have heard about it from Donald Trump.
Sure.
Like that's what that's the scenario would have gone down. So yeah, I thought that you were gonna be on the correct side and agree with me about this, but I just wanted to check. But I saw you recently.
Oh, also one quick thing to flip, actually, because this is because the scrutiny is not an auto loss, right? It's just heightened scrutiny is hard to overcome. But we can imagine a world where some forms of, I don't know if you wouldn't consider it viewpoint neutral, but some forms of this could maybe not pass or could actually be okay to discriminate against. So, for instance, let's say that
100%.
There was a line for all the political parties, and then there was a separate line if you identified as a communist. And let's say that the year is 1967 or something. Well, we could imagine a world where belonging to certain political parties, depending on global communism, well, maybe you do get asked a few more questions. And is that the worst thing in the world? You probably could demonstrate that there might be some heightened scrutiny or whatever, right? Possibly, not saying you'd auto win, but I'm saying there are circumstances where we could keep this in mind, yeah.
Two things on that. One, we already do that. If you are getting a green card, especially depending on which country you're coming from, they will just straight on the form say, "Were you ever part of the Communist Party of whatever country?" Right? If you're from China, Cambodia, Vietnam, those places, they will straight up on your immigration form be like, "Were you ever part of the Communist Party?" And that can then lead to further questioning at a green card interview. So that already happens. One. Two. Piso put it harder to me. He made it about religion. He said, "Well, then fine, you support the Muslim ban? You think the Muslim ban's okay?" And it was funny because he kept trying to pin me in with this, where how horrible it would be to ban all Muslims or ask Muslims questions at the airport. And then I turned around and said, "Okay, let's say tomorrow Pakistan, Syria, Iraq, Iran all join together, declare war, call for a holy war, and say, okay, or jihad, and say any Muslim should attack us, and we have evidence that Muslims from other countries, not just those four, do want to come to America and attack us." In that case, do you think it would be insane for CBP to ask 2 or 3 extra questions for Muslims that come in, that ask them to volunteer information? And he literally just goes, "Oh, well, we could come up with any scenario to fulfill strict scrutiny." And it's like, yeah, then yes.
Exactly.
Right.
But
that's what we're saying.
It's called strict scrutiny. You're scrutinizing.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you're automatically saying no. Yeah.
But to be fair, whenever I would say 9 times out of 10, if not more, if you're discussing strict scrutiny in the law, it's to say, fuck off, you're not going to get it, right? If once you hit strict scrutiny in the vast majority of cases, the case is over. But in this case, and then also it was I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Hassan discussed supporting the Houthis or at least interviewing a Houthi or something. And
Basically,
it's like,
yeah.
we're literally exchanging military fire. Like we still have ongoing missions and shit against the Houthis right now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's insane that like if you mention, like possibly a favorable view on a current military like combatant like force that we're up against. I don't think it's insane that like maybe we should ask like one or two more questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen you also complaining about kind of some issues whenever you're in debates or whenever people are getting questioned about the kind of like I don't know defense. Right? Like I think I saw this maybe my favorite one of these was Marco Rubio at a recent congressional hearing where they were like, "Hey, have you heard about this Trump coin dinner?"
That where there could be foreign
Trump
nationals
coin
and like
dinner?
the Syrian president was like trying to sneak in here or whatever, or the Serbian president was trying
And
to
he's
sneak
like,
in or something.
"Do I look like a caterer? Like, come on, I don't know what's going on."
Jesus
You know,
Christ. The unbeatable strategy.
well, and it's interesting because like as an attorney, you know, I do depositions and there's all these strategies and like you run into an I don't know all the time in a deposition. But it's funny because for attorneys, usually it's not really a bad thing. Usually it's a great thing. That's whenever you get to like that's whenever you know that person is kind of fucked and you can start really destroying them as a witness, right? But I think that it for our side, I think it's a little different because like we have a lot more control over the questioning and those conversations. But like whenever you run into an I don't know in your debates or discussions with people, right? Do you feel like that person is lying to you? Or do you think it's like these people are in an ecosystem where they're legit not saying it? Like they don't subscribe to ground news. They
No,
don't
the problem
know
is that we're like in a human environment and I can't, if I push further, this is the destruction of whatever platform I'm on and my relationship with this person, right? So you correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're in a deposition setting and you get an I don't know on a question where you know the motherfucker knows, at that point, now it's time to engage in witness destruction. Because if you're going to tell me you don't know the answer, then you're going to make damn sure that the court understands that you don't know the answer to something you probably should know the answer to, and it's going to impeach you as a witness. You're going to look like a fucking retard, which should be the whole point. So if I was in a conversation, if it was a court setting, then I would do that. If I was in like a hardcore debate setting and somebody was like if I were to ask, like when this one guy was like, "Oh, I don't really know much about economic stuff," I wouldn't just kind of like smile and leave it. Instead, we would go back and we would revisit all. I would ask all the prior questions. Like, "Oh, okay, you say you don't know much about that. Okay, cool." So earlier, when you said that what our debt to GDP ratio is, you then acknowledged you don't know anything about that, right? So when you said that, you were talking about something you have no knowledge on, right? And then I would just go through every single question. Like, when you said this particular thing about how it's good that we're doing this, when you said good, you actually don't know what's good, right? And I would just walk through it like that. But you understand that this form of argumentation is going to be the last time I ever talk to that person, and the host is going to hate me because it's going to be insanely contentious, right? But that ideally, that is really what you should do, because these people get paid a lot of money, and you come up and you want to talk to people and share ideas. So if you can't have even a little bit of examination or critical analysis of what you're saying, what the fuck is the point? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like that's a really good way to put it, because from my perspective, it's like, come on, Destiny, like just burn this man alive, like on screen for me. But I get that like you have a huge amount of things to consider about, like whether I get to talk to him again, whether I get to be with this host again, like that's fair. Like if I'm in a room in a deposition, I don't give a fuck if I ever see this witness again. I don't care if the stenographer hates me. I'm gonna get what the fuck I want out of this person. But then like on the other side of it, whenever another consideration, I guess I didn't realize it till now when I brought up Marco Rubio, is whenever you are in the room talking or debating with someone, it's rare, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's rare for me to see you ever talking to someone where they have like an actual bona fides, where it's like, this is a person who has like credentials that they like need to defend, right? So like when I have a witness on the stand, that person is there because they're supposed to know something, whether they're like the head of a Denny's, right? Or whether that person is a scientist or is some other licensed professional, right? And if I can show that that person doesn't deserve to be in the position they're in, that also is a great way to turn them down. But like if you're on a show and you're just debating, it's some fucking guy that has a podcast and you show that he doesn't know about macroeconomics, everyone's gonna be like, "Yo, we're just a podcaster."
Well,
right?
no,
So like,
it would be the same process, because these people do present themselves as credentialed, and when you lean into it, the goal would. People try to live in both worlds, but like you can only live in both worlds if nobody takes a measurement. You can only live in both worlds insofar as nobody actually challenges you on anything. So Dave Smith is the perfect example of this. I'm not an expert. I'm just a comedian, but also I'm paraded around on all these podcasts like the geopolitics expert. And it wasn't until Douglas Murray tried to take a measurement that he collapsed into the "I'm just a comedian. I don't know anything." Blah 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 blah. But I would be okay Like, that's an acceptable outcome to me. If I'm on a show with somebody and then they're finally like, listen, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know really fuck all about this shit. I'm just telling you what I read on Twitter. I'd be like, you know what? That's based. And we can have the conversation at that level then. But don't pretend to have the conversation. Like, imagine if we were arguing some constitutional thing and I show up and I like fucking quote some fucking old ass court case, and you know that I have no fucking idea, what the fuck this court case was about, but I like have a line from it. And you'd look at me like, do you even understand what the fuck you're talking about? And I'd be like, well, there's this quote, so eat my dick, No, just like have the conversation on the level you're supposed to. And then the audience can see what level the conversation is having on as well, which is important. I don't like when people are like, yesterday I watched Eric Weinstein and fucking Sean Carroll having a conversation, and to a layman it's possible that these guys both look like physicists that were debating a point. They're not. Sean Carroll is a real physicist, and Eric Weinstein is a fucking influencer flunky fuck who's a conspiratorial lunatic who's victimizing himself because he's got some 40-year-old theory that nobody believed in and nobody will ever believe in.
Yeah, and I mean, that's so whenever an attorney is deposing someone, and whenever an attorney is getting testimony or presenting evidence at a trial, right? I think that it's actually really comparable to a lot of these congressional hearings where I've heard you describe it, where everyone's here just trying to get their TikTok clip, right? Like, you go to a congressional hearing so that you can say the epic thing to the other person and see them like stutter around, and then later you get to put it out on your TikTok, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that was so fucking epic! Trey Gowdy rocks." And it's funny because actually, like, a deposition testimony evidence at trial is very similar in that what's happening is I am in front of the jury live, putting things there that are essentially TikTok clip, and then at the end when I do my closing argument, I basically stack every single one of those up back to back and go, check out how fucking awesome I am and stupid they are. Right, boom, 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 boom. That's why I should win this case, right?
I have to agree conceptually almost, but I think the big difference is that you have one set of observers, so that might be a judge or it might be a jury, and then you have one set of facts from start to finish that you get to present. And then once the facts are presented in a controlled environment, it's up to those people to determine the credibility of the witnesses and how much they believe in whatever the facts, and then that's it. It's not just like, imagine you had to do court, but imagine it was like a new jury every week, a new set of witnesses every single week, a new set of rules every single week, and you presented this like over the course of 2 years and then asked for a ruling from like 12 other random people that came in. There just happened to be those popular Twitter accounts. It's like a clusterfuck of stupid shit is the difference, I think, unfortunately.
Well, no, and yes, I totally see that difference on your side, but whenever bringing it back to what you said before, where you're like, okay, we're just gonna bring it down to their level and talk on Twitter headlines or whatever it is, right? For me, I think that I see you definitely execute a lot where I feel like even just that thing you were watching just now with that guy, I feel like there were moments where I'm like, bam, you like, okay, Destiny like really got his point in there. I see it. He seems a lot more credible than this other guy. But then whenever I'm thinking about like that kind of final presentation argument or whatever, I don't know. It kind of, maybe it's just being an attorney, I expect it, but like, it just feels like there's not a good ending point for you where you're like, and that's why here's all these things that show why this person is an idiot, or I know what I'm talking about here and I'm right on this subject, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the time, whenever I talk to people that maybe don't interact with you a lot, they might go, oh yeah, he was like good in that one thing, but here's all these horrible things I've heard about him. And it's like, I think I've watched you a good amount enough that I have a good kind of understanding. I could probably predict a lot of your, actually that's not fair. You got some insane takes on stuff when I'm trying to bring it up to you. But as far as like politics, you've got stuff that I could probably like get an A on a test if I had to guess some of your politics. But then like, I feel like kind of that cohesive, that kind of like 10-minute final argument when it comes to some of this stuff, it's hard for me to see that. And I don't know if that would be something that would be like valuable or something that like would be worth putting out there. But I don't know, I feel like you do a good job of building out the evidence or the clips that would support some kind of really strong closing argument. And I don't know. I don't know if there's like something like that exists, that like you do manifestos, I guess. So I guess that's kind of that. But I heard that there's apparently you make videos that you don't put out like on Jan 6. That would have been something like that. But other than that, I haven't really heard. Is there anything else that you do that like is kind of this like here's the boom, this one?
No, I'm not like much of like a big
thing.
I feel like when I do conversations, I'm usually engaged back and forth. So like when I feel like there's a huge factual disagreement between both of us, I'm bad at kind of like summarizing and everything. That's just like a skill that I've worked on it. I'm better than I used to be at it, but I can still get better at it. It's just a thing I don't do as well. Is like summarizing things in stories when I have all these just factual, these discrete disagreements. But yeah, we'll work on it.
That's fair enough. Well, hey, thanks for having me on. Especially right before you hop off. You have a good night. Enjoy your Memorial Day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, be
All right,
careful.
everybody, go read the pragmatic papers. All right.
Be careful. Bye. Oh my god, I got it. It's fucking Hausa. What if it's like Yemen, actually? I don't actually know. These, like the things? Home is where the cat is. I mean, it would be relevant, right? Just please don't be like fucking Yemen. When was October 7th? What year? 2023, right? So maybe 2024? It was 2025, fuck. Not bad though. We take those. We take those. Roseland Area Planning Association. Oh my god. And look at that car. Classic 65 Chevy Monte Carlo. I have no idea. Okay, we're in Chicago. Hold on. Oh my god. Generational. 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 I don't know what the fuck these things are. This is a generational run. I can feel it. 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 Give me a goddamn motherfucking year. A goddamn... The long power car. What are these? It's like 60s, right? These big, long fucking things? '80s? No. These all the long... These like the... We're gonna go 68. Chi-Town. What part? 10703 South Wentworth. Don't want to look for the address. Blup blup. Blup 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 blup. Hold on. Hold the fuck up. I said, hold up. Please, Western. We're not just gonna, it's not just gonna be like Wentworth. Whatever, I bet it's somewhere around here. Fuck it, who cares? 68, let's go. 4 years off. Not bad though, 9K plus, 9K plus, 9K plus. Oh, Roseland is like a big ass area. Fuck. Oh, whatever. Okay, come on, we can do this. No, not the, oh my god, wait. This is, did I get memed on by chat? Did I get memed on The magical fairy palace. Isn't that actually the isn't that actually like the Kremlin? Or is that a troll? Was chat trolling me? I don't actually know where the Kremlin is. It's got to be in. Is it actually, or did I get trolled by chat? Oh my fucking God. They're looking at it. That's got to be it, right? It's the big thing. And they're... Oh wait, there's a lot of them. Oh shit. Are they... How far away do you think they are? They're not like back there. They could be like over here. Fuck it, maybe over here. What year? It's an older... Oh, dude, I was like... Is there like a context? Like, was the Kremlin not like a real thing until like the fucking collapse of the Soviet Empire or something? So like the only Russia, I don't know, like so it'd be after 91? Before 91? They got the hats, they got rifles. It's a nice picture. The fuck is this? A big boom? I have no idea. I have no time span. I don't even know what these guys are for. Why is this retard turned around, dipshit? Oh, he kind of looks like Paulie, I think. In The Sopranos, a little? No, not Paulie. The younger kid, the one who wanted to be a scriptwriter. I don't know. This is going to be some stupid fucking historic event that I should know, and I don't know it. God damn it. God damn it. What would all the army people be standing here for? What are they doing? 80s Cold War. I can't guess hairstyles or fashion. Fucking losers. And before, this is like the fucking Disney World. I'm just kidding. Like, there's no way like modern Russian soldiers have like fucking Mosins or whatever, right? Like this must be older. This has to be like the fucking 80s or some bullshit, right? And there's no way this is like fucking World War II. These guys are way too chill. Plus it's in color and all that. We're going with the 80, 70, 78. Good luck. Fuck me. Dude, fuck me. Participants dressed in historical uniform? Are you serious? Oh my God. This is bullshit. You can't do questions like this. This is actual cuckoldry. This is actual cuckoldry. Reenacting historical pictures? The camera quality? We don't judge on camera quality anymore, okay? We always get cucked on that. Dude, I just got fucked so hard. Fuck me. This is a generational run. This should have been so... 2015. Give me a break. Whatever. Oh, cool. World War whatever shit that I don't know about or give a fuck about. Oh, cool. Flag. I can't even fucking tell what it is. We know this one. It's one of the... No, I don't know that one. I thought it was one of the European ones with a thing in it, but it's not. It's a weird one. That must be an older one. Oh, from when before the country died. So maybe this is like World War I? Because these whatever bullshit ass country in the Balkans or whatever bullshit didn't exist. These types of helmets and things, these are like always like Americans, right? Are they? Maybe not. I don't know. Who else uses these helmets? I have no idea. The run is dead, dude. This run is dead. Like, where is this shit? Southern Europe? They got Greek dudes. It's in fucking... Just fuck me. I have no idea. I have no idea. World War II. American and French troops meeting and shaking hands in autism, France during the liberation of France. What is this stupid fucking thing? What is it? What flag is this? What does this mean? French resistance flag. Cringe. Looks like they didn't resist much, if no one knows about them now. Okay, let's go ahead and end this with a good 10K. Good. This is exactly what I needed. CA's highest point. California. Oh, the Ur Peak. Oh, time to look at them all until we find it. Wait. Tanzania. We learned that. Is that a country? Hold on. Tanzania. Tanzania. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. Oh, they tried to... they were trying to be true. Wait. Something, because that's not California's highest peak. They tried to fucking troll us. But we're not here to get trolled today, boys. Your peak. Your. Am I even in the right fucking country? Wait, I don't think I am. Okay. These are mountains, right? Can we just... Okay, how high is this? All right, well, it's the highest, so this is 11,900. What's higher than that? 14,900. God damn. Ooh, Kilimanjaro. Oh my god, that's like at a video game, right? Wait. Why have I heard of this mountain before? I feel like people have talked about this before. Peak. Okay, highest. Wait, am I in the right country still? Oh, okay. Wait, am I retarded? Am I just not seeing it? Hello? Good meme. It has to be higher than that? Is it even in this fucking stupid country? Tanzania. World's highest freestanding mountain. What the fuck does freestanding mountain mean? Do the rest of the mountains need props? I don't know what the fuck that means. Climb Kilimanjaro. Oh, hold on. So it's part of this stupid bullshit. Where is this stupid thing? Stop! University of Arusha. What is this, like 2 fucking rooms? What is this in the middle of nowhere? Okay, sorry, don't care. Okay, no. Is the top of Kilimanjaro, is the peak called Peak? Is that what it's called? Damn, there's a lake on this tallest mountain. I bet this place is awesome. Wait, hold on. Whoa, is this like the sickest place ever, or is it like dead and horrible? Never mind. That looks significantly less cool on zoom in. What is this? Don't know. Don't know, don't care. Hybrid. Oh, okay. What is that? Maybe that's what it is. Oh, no. What? You know what? I don't care. It's this. That's just what the locals call it. Okay, what are you guys? Where the fuck are these people from? Dude, am I getting ultra baited? Am I getting super baited? I want a fucking big score. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Hold on. Hold on. I'm not getting mega baited right now, am I? No. I'm reverse baiting myself. I'm reverse baiting myself. Can they even be it up? The lettering and everything here looks more like this. What is Tanzania? Is that like the name of like a fucking state in one of these fucking countries down here? Some bullshit. What is this part of the world? It's like somebody just pushed mountain on the terrain generator and just did it for fucking hundreds or thousands of miles. What's wrong with you? I'm mind fucking myself. No, I'm not. It is down here. It's not down here. Remember, don't ever forget, never in the history of me scrolling around and searching for things have I ever, my entire life, found a thing. It's never ever happened. And it never ever will happen. So I'm just wasting away. I'm wasting my fucking life. You know what? I don't care. It's somewhere up here, I bet. It's somewhere up in this bullshit. And this is a recent picture, 2024. Good luck.